everyone, Phoenix61 here with some more World of Warships Legends shenanigans for you today. So, Two Brothers we are on, and we are playing in the Carnot. This is a ship that, I don't know, probably not too popular. You don't see this one out there too much. I had been toying around with different builds for this thing. I even was playing around with trying to do like a secondary battery build. It does have decent secondary range, but you're lacking things like, secondary battery booster and all that other kind of stuff, right? But anyway, right, so French premium tier 8 cruiser, right? And so it's a little bit of a struggle bus, right? You do get, this, you get a lot of guns, but yeah, we'll see. We have a good game here, and I was actually trying to do like a dual like video, right? Where two games, right? Where play one with this sort of regular standard build that I've done, and then a second game with a secondary battery build, and I just was not having good games with the secondary build, so we'll see. I might keep trying that, but we will see, right? But anyway, so we spawned on the decap side, so we will move in and try and support the decap. We've got a Jaeger destroyer on our team here, sending loads and loads of torpedoes through the zone, which is great. That's fine. So we'll see what appears. But the thing I kind of dislike here is, he turns away from the zone. Now, given, this, circumstance, right? That's not a gunboat, so I get it. You don't typically, most people who are playing, straight up torpedo boat, destroyer, don't want to go and just challenge those zones right away, so that's fine. But it puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage trying to get spots and trying to stay, as a cruiser, stay somewhat undetected and not have too much, not drawing too much fire. But yeah, a lot of times I like to stop behind this little chunk of land here because for that very reason, right, people send torpedoes through the alleyways that they suspect, ships might come through, so we avoided some torpedoes there, but the Delaware gets a full-on salvo from his torpedo bombers. So we eat quite a bit there and have to use damage con on the flood. So I'm going to try and back away out of this situation. We may be pushed up a little too much for what our ship is worth, right? We can't really brawl like this in this ship. So as we get picked on here, we'll start kind of going a little bit more on the defensive and choose our targets a little more wisely here. So we're going to be able to move out of line of sight of this Lenin and the Delaware, which will be nice. And so then we can kind of try and focus on this battleship off to our left that's a little bit closer, this Flounder, right? And so we can be able to pick on him. He is, of course, going to start looking this way as well, right? And then our destroyer does go into the zone. I think that he may have realized there just wasn't a destroyer that, showed up early on the enemy team, but the zone is contested now, so somebody's in there. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. I am getting asked for support, which I've all right, I was up there before and I was taking the hits and now I can't, right? So we're gonna have to be a little bit more conservative with our health pool here on out. I've got the engine boost going to try and give us some, a little bit more speed as we kind of sort of back out of this situation, right? But yeah, we'll continue to pick on the Flounder here. We'll be able to get this rear turret around here if we can too. Potentially have more guns on target, especially if he's not going to shoot at us. Then we got to keep an eye on the island behind us so we don't run into that and get ourselves into a sticky situation there either. So just keeping an eye on him and where his guns are pointed. I think he was trying to decide whether to shoot at us or go for our allied battleship. But yeah, the battleship probably on our team probably shouldn't have pushed so hard in through the zone. If you think about it, there's a Flounder, a Lenin, and a Delaware out there, right? They're going to make short work of a single spotted battleship in the middle of the zone. Plus you've got, there's the Sommers, right? So there's the destroyer we suspected as well. So it's just a little bit too hard of a push, and, we learned our lesson early on. We didn't even go into the zone, and we took a lot of hits, right? So I'll take the shot at the Sommers, even though that's going to be a tough one to land. He's far out, and I could tell he was ducking and weaving as it was. So, and then like I said, the Jaeger destroyer on our team, right? That's very much so a torpedo boat. The guns on it are absolute garbage. almost completely useless, so him trying to get into a gunfight with the Sommers is not going to go well for him. right? So he really should be moving back and backing away from this zone and letting the enemies push into it while he sends torpedoes back behind it, right? But he seems to want to stick it out, so he is getting the capture right now. But this Flander is going to probably come in. You know, it's like one of those things where it's just not going to, you know, even if you get the cap, it probably wouldn't, you know, hold very long. But yeah, so Flander is going to push in. Sommers is going to push in. Like, everyone on this flank is moving up, right? So that's why we're going full defense. And of course, he is asking for help. I don't know why. You just want me to come in there and commit suicide, right? Like, you got to kind of think about that. Like, I can only help so much. I've got decent range built into these guns, right? So we're going to take advantage of that. We don't have the greatest armor scheme, right? Like, this ship goes down pretty easily. We'll take our shot at the Flander here. It's going to be broadside to us, so I was like, all right, maybe we could switch to AP shells and see how that goes. And then I want to get turned away, right? I want to be able to kite away and go full-on defense here. And this is kind of going to be one of those plays where it's like, you know, look at the situation. We're going to lose this flank. Our Jaeger does figure it out, and he's trying to get away as well. But it just wasn't quite enough, right? He had too many people shooting him all at once there when he got spotted. We land a decent salvo on the Sommers, right? We get those over pens with the AP rounds, which is fine. Like, more, you know, any damage is great against the destroyer, right? But he's going to go undetected, right, as he stops firing his guns now that the Jaeger's dead. And so we'll, you know, we're 4-on-1 over here on this flank, right? Really the only choice is to hide and or kite away, right? So we're going to try kiting away and see how it goes for us. We can get some cheeky hits on the Flander here to get a couple of defend banners, which is always great. And then it looks like we're going to be just out of reach of his secondaries, right? Flander's got quite the secondary battery build there. Or you can if you've built it that way, right? So main battery shot from him while I was like turning in. Like, I didn't realize that was a main battery. I was like, oh no, we're going to take that hit. So now we are even weaker, right? But we want, basically at this point, my strategy is, you know, if you look at it, it's not looking good, right? Like, but we are up a little bit on points, and my team is working on the A cap, right? So my strategy here is just survive and distract, right? Like, we're gonna switch to HE shells, right? Because these guys are gonna point in at us. But basically, try and angle, try and kite away, go full on defensive mode, and just occupy these guys' time, right? Just, you know, whittle as much damage as you can out of it, but try and survive, right? So if they end up chasing us, right, we're taking them out of play. And like I always say, the game's only 15 minutes each, right? So if you can take people out of play for a few minutes and they're not focusing on objectives, they're focusing on you, and then all the while you try and just kind of, you know, take little pieces of damage away from them to help out your teammates for later in the battle, right? That can make a huge game-changing, you know, situation for your teammates, right? So now it's looking a little bit better over on the A-cap side, and these guys might not even notice, right? They might not realize, you know, the situation they're in. This Flander's still kind of coming away, right? We're pulling him away. He's not even heading in towards B, right? Like, which is where, you know, our team's going to end up at the, you know, like later in the match here. Because my team sees that B's getting capped, so, you know, it's kind of the logical sense that they would move in that direction to try and challenge the cap and challenge those ships. And so this Flander, like, took himself pretty far out of play, and we were able to just survive by just kind of kiting away and being on the defensive, right? So Delaware isn't looking at us, so we can take advantage of that and show a little bit of broadside to get those front turrets on him. And then Flander and Delaware were like, Flander's probably just out of range of like our like normal spotting for him, right? So he's only going to get picked up every time he fires his guns just based on how far away he is, right? So we run into the side wall, right? The outer wall here, which is fine. Sometimes you can use that to your advantage, right? Because it kind of screws with the auto aim factor where people aim and shoot at you when you're up against that wall. So sometimes that works out for the better. But I want to try and keep my speed up, right? So I pulled away from it just to try and keep the speed. And then Delaware took a shot at us here, so I'm going to hit full reverse and angle away as best I can to try and dodge and or, you know, hopefully those ricochet off the hull, right? But we were able to completely dodge that. And then we trigger another fire on him, right? We're getting lots of hits, right? Like, you know, 6 penetrations there amongst the you got, the middle turret's got 4 guns on it, so 10 guns, so to speak, right? So like the accuracy's there, right? It's just one of those ships where I'm like, I don't know if I'm just not doing enough damage or if I just feel like the hull is like too weak. But I feel like that's why you don't see this ship out there too much, right? But alas, you guys know me. I like to try and play a little bit of everything. So I was mixing it up on my tier 8 games for the week. Playing some different ships that I don't normally play. Been playing like a ton of like Michelangelo and like Hayate and like like just the ones that I like. So mixed it up on my premium ships for the week. But yeah, this strategy, right, I kind of call it the sacrifice fly, right? Like kite away, see how many ships you can get to chase you down. And then that's really just, you're creating this time suck for the enemy where they're chasing you and spending all this time just trying to shoot you. And then your teammates are able to go and cap zones and kind of clean up the rest of the map. And then you end up winning the game that way, right? So yeah, teammates took out the Delaware. We've got the Flander on fire here. I was kind of like, all right, this game might be won at this point. Let's see if we can get ourselves turned around. See what kind of work we can do here. And he does take a salvo at us, but I think that we weren't spotted. I think he was just guessing. But he still managed to hit us, so tough to tell there. But we get taken out. So yeah. So but now we've just kind of created this situation where we took that battleship out of play for like several minutes, and then it took a while for like that Delaware was kind of going after us. That the destroyer, the Somers was kind of going after it, right? So we gave our teammates time basically as kind of the resource that we contributed there, and then yeah, like Flander, we helped whittle him down, so then he didn't have that much health left, right? So we're fast forwarding through the rest of the game just so I can show you kind of how this ended up playing out. But yeah, we're still ahead on points. We've got it's 4-on-2 at this point, right? So my teammates can go, especially with that destroyer that's still alive, right? Can go and challenge these zones. Stalingrad probably used, or Shimanto, managed to pick up that destroyer, probably because he was just shooting at him, right? But that ended up, saving saving the game there for us, right? And so, yeah, we're going to end up, walking away with the win on this one just because of points. Yeah, we'll take a quick look at the leaderboard here. See where we ended up, right? So 137,000 damage. We did get 3rd place there. And then, yeah, 100 grand, 130 grand in silver. And then I'll quick go through my build here. This is kind of like typical cruisery loadout that I normally pick, right? So aiming system, propulsion mod, concealment, and then we went gun control fire system, right? And then Andre Rowe, right? This is 100% free to play build if you do have this ship. I kind of have, I think several of my French cruisers are kind of built out this way. If you don't have any of the other commanders, right? But basically kind of just, a mix and match here, right? But yeah, you do you, and then of course, yeah, fully packed. This ship's got a lot of tech on it, right? You get like the sonar, the heels, and stuff, so like it's kind of nice to have fully packed with that one. Thank you guys for watching my video all the way through. We will see you next time.